walker, kiss the sky and star. For dreams are from on high now. Dreams are what you see. Dream on, dream walker. Dream as you can be. Greetings, companions of the night. I'm your host, the Fantasy Man, dreaming dreams dreamed of by the dreamer while the dreamer is dreaming a dream. And today's dream of portent and potency is the golden age of DC Comics and its effect on the media. Now I know what you're thinking, Pilgrim, Fantasy Man, you're mystic, poet, philosopher. What know ye of the golden age of DC Comics? Let me elaborate. I wrote the 52-page newspaper, Comic Land's Comic News, with news and views on comic paraphernalia. I wrote the monograph, How to Collect Comics. I wrote the monograph, Superman, Archetypal Hero for the New Age. I wrote the comic strip, The Fantasy Gang, and I'm currently shopping around one-panel scenes, The Fantasy Man. Make no bones about it, misconstrued no more. Comic books are an authentic American literary tradition, can be viewed in the same venue as poetry, as short stories, as plays. In the beginning, it was the dark age of the end of the Depression. The year was 1938. There were two concomitant publishers. One, Irwin Donifield, publisher of national periodical publications, DC Comics. The other, Max Gaines, publisher of All American Comics and a distributor. These two companies were in the beginning stages of the birth of the comic empire. Two Cleveland, Ohio, high school graduates came to New York. They sought out Max Gaines. They had a comic strip, Superman, a strange visitor from another planet. Gaines steered Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, the high school graduates, to Irwin Donifield. The comic strip was reformatted to a comic story. In 1938, it was birthed Action Comics. By the time Action Comics #8 came out, Superman was a bludgeoning empire. Shuster and Siegel had a coterie of aides and artists working for them. Superman was a strange visitor from another planet, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound, invested with impervious strength and power. Then, the second hero in the cabal of heroes of DC Comics was Batman. Bruce Wayne witnessed the death of his parents. It inspired him to become an avenging angel. As he trained, he invested himself with wisdom, scientific genius. He became Batman, the avenging angel of the night, who with Robin fought the likes of a coterie of villains. Batman was a supremely fine-tuned human with no superpowers other than his God-given athletic ability, his mental acumen, and his questing mind. The third character in the procession of heroes was Wonder Woman, created by Charles Moulton and Henry Peters. Moulton was a therapist. He believed that girls needed a heroine to look up to. So him and Harry Peters created Wonder Woman, the princess of Amazon Island. Wonder Woman was supremely strong. She was a princess. She traveled in a translucent airplane. She had a magic lariat. She had bracelets that protected her from bullets. She was invested with a perception and a wisdom sacrosanct to the female of the species. Wonder Woman started out in Sensation Comics, and before 12 months, she was in her own issue of Wonder Woman comics. Now, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman were three heroes that have been continuously published since the golden age of comics to today. The fourth hero in the coterie of the Big Eight from the golden age of comics is the Flash. Flash, secret identity was Jay Garrick, chemist. It was originally written by Gardner Fox, a science fiction writer, and the original artist was E. Hibbard. Lee Ellis came later, and the great Carmine Infantino. The Flash had supersonic speed. He was wise. He had Mercury's helmet. He had the lightning bolt on his costume, and he had wings on his boots. He started out in Flash Comics, a collection of stories championed by him with other heroes to boot. Before a year was over, he too appeared in his own comic. Now, these heroes form the fraternity of the Big Four in the golden age of DC Comics. The fifth hero was the Green Lantern, Alan Scott, a radio man, a man who owned a radio station, who found a magic lantern with a ring of power, which, when he recharged it, gave him powers above and beyond anything man could conceive of. For if he thought it, it could materialize. Green Lantern had one Achilles heel, one weakness, one flaw, one frailty. He was susceptible to wood. He was originally created by Bill Finger with the artist Martin Nardell. Subsequent artist was Alex Tooth, Paul Raymond. Green Lantern was one of the most popular characters in the All-American catalog of characters. And before a year was over, he too was given his own book with complete stories, having started in All-American. The sixth hero in the cabal of DC Golden Age heroes was Hawkman. Hawkman was a reincarnate Egyptian prince, married to Hawkwoman. He was an eternal hero that kept coming back to incarnation and incarnation. Hawkman was created by the pulp writer and science fiction writer Gardner Fox. He was originally illustrated by Dennis Neville. Later illustrators were Sheldon Moldoff and the great Joe Kubert. Hawkman was invested with the nth metal, which gave him the power to defy gravity, and his wings propelled him. He fought villains of the present with weapons of the past, using acumen of a brilliant mind, which was visionary and Futurian. Hawkman was one of the more popular characters in the cabal of the golden age of DC. The next hero in our coterie of heroes is perhaps the most powerful of all heroes. The Spectre, originally a detective, Jim Corrigan, who was murdered viciously, but somehow, to a strange fate, was revivicated to become the Spectre of Justice, to mete out the balance between good and evil, light and darkness, hope and hopelessness. The Spectre was the eternal judge of evil on the dominion of the earth. He was created by Jerry Siegel, the creator of Superman, and he was illustrated by Bernard Bailey. The Spectre and Superman were potentially the most powerful of all the golden age of DC heroes. The last of the big eight in the cabal and collection of the golden age of DC Comics was Dr. Fate, Kent Nelson. Dr. Fate was the abracadabra man, a man of magic, a man of mystery, a man of unassailable power, a man of enchantment. He resided in a lighthouse in Salem, Massachusetts. He wore the fateful mask of Nibiru, which gave him powers above and beyond most mortal ken. He was invested with the ability of enchantment. He was, in fact, a sorcerer, a magic man, a man who transcended time and space. These, then, were the ferment and filigree of the golden age of DC characters. These eight left an impression. Superman was the hero that launched the 10,000 imitators. DC Comics was the publisher that launched 1,000 full imitating publications from other publishers. The effect that these characters had on the media is far-reaching. In the beginning, Superman was in novelizations, in books for teenagers. Then Big Little Books were created. Big Little Books were half the size of a paperback, some 250 pages in total, with narrative on one side and artwork on the other. There was Superman Big Little Books, Batman Big Little Books, Wonder Woman Big Little Books. And then the cycle and the circle begat anew. For Superman in the 40s became a newspaper comic strip, creating vast influence, reaching the franchise of Superman to people who were unaware of the four-color comic books, the 64-page bonanza of literary and visual illumined art. Batman and Robin soon followed suit in newspaper strips, and then Wonder Woman. In addition, Superman animated features were trolled out by the Max and Dave Fleischer studios. They were 12-minute cartoons from 1941 to 1943. The Fleischer studio, in a new creative process known as photoregrure, used actors to enact the scenes, and then they had hundreds of illustrators trace out the movements of the humans to create a lifelike cartoon sequence. There were 17 cartoons, each 12 minutes, still available to this day. The Fleischer studio turned out Betty Boop and Popeye and Bosco and the Dancing Bull, and they were the only serious animated cartoon company that gave Disney a run for its money. Each cartoon cost in excess of $100,000 during the 1940s. The next media implement for Superman to conquer was radio dramas. A radio drama. Before television, radio was king. Superman was a 5-day-a-week radio cliffhanger, 30 minutes a day, for 10 consecutive years. Each chapter ended with a protagonist, the Superman or Lois Lane or Jimmy Olsen, facing catastrophe or ruin. And then the next chapter, magically, an ingenious rescue. Batman and Robin were also radio dramas. And then the medium of films, movie serials, 15-minute, 15-chapter plays. The first one in 43 was Batman and Robin. The second one in 48 was Batman and Robin. Then Superman chapter play in 48 and 49. In 1950, George Reeves and Phyllis Colt were in the movie Superman and the Mole Man. And then, in 1951, George Reeves had the Superman television series that was on for 5 years. These shows were filmed in color even before color television. For you see, the Superman franchise, the people involved creatively, were far-reaching visionaries. And even to this day, the original Superman are shown throughout the world every day. Now, the power of the imagination that these characters imbued and invested into the children of that time period led many of them on to bigger and greater Imagineers on their own accord. For you see, it takes a thought, an imagination, and a will to transcend the limitations of the sphere of the availability, to rise above the pedestrian, to imbue yourself with the dream, with the imagining, with the ferment of the visionary mind, and in any way, the power of the heroic imaginings that sprung forth from Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster way back when, in 1938, still affects and effects the media, the consciousness, the ferment the place of those who are young in heart and those who are young. I say, if you can dream it, you can be it. If you can imagine it, you can invest yourself with the ferment, the filigree, the potency, the power, the presence, the oeuvre of rising to not who you are, but who you want to be. That, the hero, the eternal hero, the quest of all who would be heroes, begins in the journey of the mind's eye, transcends the limit, the placement, the inducement to become that which is within your sphere, within your destiny, within your power to manifest. For you see, as within, so above, in the ferment of the imagination, of the imaginary mind, of the visionary mind, of the dreaming mind, there is that which is within all of us, a super thought, a super presence, a super power. Thus, even today, the last July 4th weekend in San Diego, California, 400,000 people attended the comic book convention, and the presence of all the stars, of all the superhero movies, of all the writers, the editors, the characters were present. And in conclusion, a mint copy of Action Number 1 and Detective Number 1 sold recently in auction for $2.5 million. These two books are among the 4 most valuable books in the world. They're only bested by the Gutenberg Bible and Shakespeare's first folio. In further shows, I will carry through on the next level of superheroes in the golden age of DC Comics. And you will see the cabal, the coterie, the level, the perception, the perspective of the manifold and manifest heroes that will reconnoite, reinvigorate, reinvest you with your youth, with your childhood, with your dream state. And in conclusion, the dream is real. The imagination, the thought form, the ideation, the perception, the reverie, the vision, it all springs forth from the theater of the mind and the theater of the mind's eye. You have within you the power to rise to the level of your imagined state, to manifest the dream, the image, the spatial separation between who you are and who you're destined to be. There's an increments of step. Everybody has within their power image, imagining, cacophony of time and space. In conclusion, walk in spirit, shed a light, hold fast the dream. Until next time, I remain obediently yours. This is the Fantasyman, Prince of Dreams, rock until the night, saying, hop, hop, away! Kiss the sky and star, for dreams are from on high now. Dreams are what you see. Dream on, dream walker, dream as you can be. Now or then? Has it happened or is it over? Are we to begin or we're at the ending? Do we know what we know when we know it? Do you know what you know when you know it? For I know that you know that you know that I know that you know that I know that you know it. Can you know it? Does anybody know it? Can anybody explain